Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day and welcome to another interesting episode of the Whiteblood Panorama, a show that gives everyone the opportunity to air their views on your favorite channel, Whiteblood Multimedia. I'm your host, Umar Isa Dandabu. Well, the United States of America has, for an extended period of time, been a dream country for many young people, including the presenter of this show. Not just because of how beautifully attractive the Hollywood industry portrays it, but also because of its slogan, that is, it is, quote unquote, the land of opportunities, where people move from grass to grace or from rags to riches. But these days, it seems like such dreams, well, may start to get diminished, faded, if not completely scattered. Why and how? Well, since the beginning of this year, 2023, America has seen about over 40 cases of mass shootings, meaning a person can just appear out of nowhere and start shooting at people randomly, only to be shot by a police officer or to commit suicide. That's dangerous. But so is America now unsafe for people? Well, we will try to discover this in the course of the program, and to do that, I am joined in the studio by Alhaji Hassan Jibia, a Nigerian who has been living in the United States of America for an extended period of time, for a very long period of time, for years. He is also a political analyst, mostly analyzing issues that have to do with American politics and elections. And he is also going to talk us through other important issues regarding living in the United States of America, the tips and things that you need to know about living and life in the United States of America. Well, Alhaji Hassan Jibia is currently with us here in the studio. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Malan Umar, for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to always talk to you. You've been very much contributory to our program. You've been contributing to most of my programs for years, especially analyzing the Trump administration and the controversial 2020 elections, which Donald Trump said it was rigged, quote unquote, stolen from him. You're smiling. This is because you didn't vote for him, did you?
First of all, thank you so much, Umar, once again for having me on your very intelligent program. I want to commend you for the growth you have gone through over the years with Global Arena.
Thank you.
With you moving to an independent YouTube platform now. Only the sky is your limit, so people like us will attend your shows. You may seem small right now, but with time you would grow. So just keep it up. There aren't many northern journalists like you, so you just hang on there. Now it's difficult, you know what you're going through to host this program. So it's just a matter of time before you get recognized, but you will get recognized, and you will be one of the famous northern journalists, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Going back to your question.
Thank you very much.
No problem. No problem. Of course, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, and as you are aware, I'm a Democrat.
Of course.
Even though sometimes I vote Republican. Yes, for example, in the state of Maryland, where I am from, I think I have voted twice for a Republican governor, Larry Hogan.
Why?
Because of his policies, mainly, you look at somebody's, public records and the messaging also. And also after his first term in government, you can see the rate of, violence gone down. all the educational parameters going up. So you see that, and you see sincerity in somebody's not only messaging but also actions and policies. So we vote. He won. Maryland is heavily Democratic, but he won re-election in
in the recent.
No. Now a Democrat has taken over, which is natural. Sometimes in the U.S. politics, you get this. Switch. One party rules for 8 years and then another party takes over, just like you have seen in the national election as well.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
And so the United States, some people argue that the United States is not a multi-party, is not practicing multi-party system. It's more like a two-party system.
More or less. There's always,
especially at the national level, of course.
Yes. There's always, even on the states, there are like very few candidates that call themselves independent candidates, but you mainly have two dominant parties, which is of course the Republican and the Democratic parties, and those parties have been there for over 100 years. It's a matter of ideology, pretty much. You like guns, you don't like guns. You like to help the poor, you like to give more, pay more taxes, is more, democratic sort of. Conservatives want to keep more of what they earn. They believe everybody should work hard and earn a living for themselves and take care of their family. They want less government involvement. Republicans, prefer less government involvement, while the Democrats, sort of prefer to have an eye in every sector of the country.
You said less involvement of the government. Are you saying less involvement of government in foreign policies, or like in talking about the relationship between America and other countries?
Less of a government eye telling them what they should do with their daily life activity. They want to establish their own business. What they earn, they want to keep, for instance. They really don't want to give back. If they like, they could organize a community fundraising to build a road or a drainage and what have you. They prefer to do that than to have government come into their business and see, this is a studio that you own. How much are you making? How much are you paying your workers? How much really, are you paying the local government taxes, all that stuff,
So taxes are much higher during the Democratic government than during the Republican government?
Typically, the Democrats, tax more. Even, their percentage, like business tax, corporate tax rate tends to be higher, and then Republicans usually tend to have lower corporate tax rate. But sometimes you can argue that it's usually the rich people that benefits from most of the tax incentives, tax cuts, and what have you.
So the poor people do not benefit?
It's mostly the wealthy people that benefit from such moves. So Democrats usually would come in and say, okay, we want to give a tax break for the poor people, for example, and anybody earning, for example, $50,000 per annum would get a tax break because of maybe an economic situation, and then anybody making more than $50,000 would pay a little more. That would be a Democrat, and then that's when the Republicans would come in and say, it's not fair, and what have you. So it depends on how you look at it, like what prism, through what prism you look at it. If you're a Republican, you see it as something that is unjust. If you're a Democrat, you say, it's only logical to help the poor and give them a little bit more, or let them keep a little bit more of their earnings and what have you.
So like this brings me to the next issue, which is more like the most important thing that we're going to look at in this talk program. That's the issue of mass shootings between the Republicans and the Democrats. Which one, like which party, which government is in favor of owning guns, and which one is against owning guns?
Of course, the Republicans are more in favor of owning guns for personal protection, and they feel like it's their Second Amendment right. And that is why it is very, very difficult to amend that constitutional law. The Democrats would like more control and they would like at least, for example, put in some measures that would check who buys a gun. You know, for example, somebody has to reach a certain age before he's able to go and buy a gun. That would be Democrats talking. And for example, if somebody has a history of you know, criminal records, you know, should not be allowed to own a gun or purchase a gun. If somebody has a history of mental illness, should not be allowed to, you know, own a gun or buy a gun. But because of it's so difficult to change the law, Republicans would almost be against every legislation that would be put in place to
at the Congress.
Yes, the Congress, both national, you know, and also in states. So sometimes governors may issue an executive order, including the president. They will issue an executive order, for example, banning you know, people that have a history of mental illness or criminal records from buying guns. But the Republicans will rush and go to court, and then court will strike down the executive order. So even for the executive, even for somebody as powerful as the president of the United States, it's very difficult for them to, you know, to control the situation. I mean, it is also getting out of hand. You can see US has more mass shootings than any advanced country in the world.
Of course.
You know, it's becoming an epidemic. You know, and they don't know how to control it, to be honest.
Like within 3 weeks of January, this January of 2023, there are cases, there are about 39 cases of mass shootings which took place in different parts of the United States, including like recently 2 cases in California, which made a lot of headlines, of course. Of
course. Yeah, it's all over the place, you know. Nowhere is really safe in the US. I mean, of course, because the country is big and, you know, has over 300 million, you know, people. But yet, the shootings is just, you know, one too many. You know, it's just too much, especially the fact that it's usually the innocent that are the victims of mass shootings. And there's almost a trend. You can almost pick them out or put a simple legislation in place. You will see that most mass shooters are male. Most of them, you hardly, there's no record. This is where the White House
That's where the Capitol Hill is.
Exactly. So please, if you're going, just try and go. There are so many ways we can get to America. Go there as a visitor, visit and come back, and then plan on your next move. You have skills, you have, you know, certificates. Apply for jobs. America is looking to hire more people now, really, and you could look into different various job opportunities.
Good. Finally, before we go, I have to put this to you. There is this one of our contributors, Dr. Amina Ali. She's an activist. She has been working for the United Nations, and she's a medical doctor. She even served with the American Army during the Gulf War, the US attacks, or the Western countries' attacks on Saddam Hussein, Gulf War, Desert Shield and Desert Storm. So I put a question to her. Does she believe the words of NRA, the National Rifles Association, which says guns make America safe? She says no, absolutely not. That's like the lion saying the Giselle is the best meat. You cannot use the violence of the source and subjugate it as safety. Guns were designed to kill people and animals. To have one states the very intent of its use. That doesn't breed safety. So here, she is saying that she doesn't believe the words of the NRA, which is kind of so the guns don't make America safe.
It has been proven statistically that owning a gun does not really make you safe. It endangers you more. You keep it in a safe place. Your kids, you know, may play with it, and there are so many cases of, you know, unwarranted accidents where, you know, people, you know, kids die or end up shooting another kid or another adult, you know, mistakenly. And also, if a criminal, God forbid, enters your house, if you have a gun, he sees you automatically as a threat, and the next thing to do is to fire, even though they don't have any intention of using their rifles. So it's not true.
Which makes the freedom
it's not true that guns make you safe.
So which makes the freedom that America is claiming to have like a myth, because I put the question to her, I said, is freedom now the problem of America? She says, no. The emboldened, entitled privilege is the problem. This is the space where those that have gotten away with crimes in the past, when it wasn't televised or posted on social media, is just continuing. Business, quote unquote, as usual, and their depravity towards society. She mentions a lot of things. She cites different examples and different figures supporting that, like this.
I think she's right. The popular saying is that the solution to a bad guy with a gun is another good guy with a gun. They like to say that a lot, but that's not usually the case.
So freedom now is the problem America is facing.
Yes, I believe that
it needs to be checked.
I believe, Dr. Amina's too much freedom to own a gun is as easy as in some stores you can just, it's as easy as buying pure water. You go to a store, you just walk in, you have your money, you point at the gun, this is what you want. Most of them you can buy at gun shows, no IDs needed, whether you're underage or not. You can even buy it from a neighbor. Hey, you have a rifle, AK-47, I want to buy it from you, and you just give him $50, $100, $200, and you have a gun.
Pick it up and go.
Yes.
This is very bad, and we hope the situation will get better and better.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Your final words before we go.
Well, like I said, it's a pleasure, being with you once again, and words of encouragement, and thank you for having us. And sky is your limit. Just keep it up, and keep informing the world, informing Nigeria, informing the world. Global Arena, is the platform to follow. When something bad is a crime is being perpetuated as such by quote unquote usually people that are of Caucasian in nature, whites. And what happens is that you see that it's being tagged as somebody that is mentally deranged.
Okay, yes.
In most of the cases.
Most of them, especially if it is perpetrated by a white person.
Yes, by a white person. You
don't call it terrorism.
No, it's not terrorism, really. When it's black, it's somebody who's a criminal, who's a gangster, and when it's, of course, he has any piece of Muslim name, and it's all of a sudden it's terrorism. So I think this is one of our major problems in America.
Hypocrisy?
We have to. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Oh, double standard.
Double standard, no more or less.
To use a more diplomatic term, double standard. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Look at the invasion of Afghanistan and the occupation of Iraq. Sure, of course. So,
yes, look at that. As a result, looking for something that is not even there in the first place.
Sure. The weapons of mass destruction. At the end of the day, the intelligence agency of the United States said there was no weapons of mass destruction.
Yes.
No WMDs. But they killed Saddam Hussein.
Yes, of course, and many other innocent civilians, and including their own citizens.
Oh yes,
a lot of U.S. soldiers lost their lives in the war as well.
Right, and should we blame America for engaging in that?
Of course, of course, they have taken the blame. I mean, I'm sure if Bush had known what he knew after, he wouldn't have, agreed to go into, the war. But look, he seemed pushed by other hardcore Republicans, and of course, a fake intelligence, whether it's being manufactured or whatever it is.
But Obama should also be blamed for going into Libya and Syria also.
Yes, yes, of course.
And would you blame him as a Democrat? Would you blame Obama for going into Libya? By using NATO.
Yes, like I said, see, I'm not like hardcore one-party person, because individual politics matters, and that is why it's important. Really, a party is just a platform.
Okay.
But the decisions the person running for office makes should matter, even in our local politics here in Nigeria.
Yes.
a party is just a platform. That is why you see, especially here where there is no really less political ideology, you see people moving from one party to another, you know.
Mass defection.
People should really refrain from, you know, participating or believing in party politics, especially in Africa. I wish maybe in the near future, maybe in the future it will change. It will be more ideological. Somebody is a liberal and this one is a conservative. At least so, like, you know, whatever term you want to use.
You know? Of course. So do you think like the democracy that we're practicing in Nigeria is not the real American type of democracy that we claim to have borrowed from?
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, even American politics is not perfect. You have situations where, you know, you are in a dilemma. You know, the issue of popular votes, you know, versus the collegiate
college.
Of course. You have that,
which brought Donald Trump into power.
Exactly.
And kicked Hillary Clinton out.
Even that is not perfect, you know. You have issues like gerrymandering, redistricting. There are issues with American politics, and it's been in existence for over 200 years. We copied it directly, sort of a copy and paste, without maybe amending or editing it to fit our realities. And look at it, we have a multi-party system, and people just use the platforms to satisfy their own personal ambition. If I can get a ticket under socio-political party A, I will stick with them. If they don't give me the ticket, I'll move to B. You know, even relevance sometimes. Some people just want relevance. If you don't give me all the necessary relevance, all the key, you know, positions, then I'll move to another party. And sometimes even money. If you give me money, I'll stay. If you don't give me money, after 4 years, I'll leave. So how do you money politics? So how do you expect your roads to be paved? How do you expect your hospitals to be built? How do you expect the government to spend money on recruiting doctors and buying medicine? Because all you care is somebody that would enrich you, give you money to enrich yourself. So this is something that you know, if we want to have a secure and viable country here in Nigeria, we have to move away from, you know, self-aggrandizement would only cause more harm to us as a country. So we have like 5 minutes or so to go. Let's talk about this issue. Like, okay, answer this question briefly before we move on. Is America now unsafe for you and other people? That's a difficult one, but let me give you a scenario. I was at the local mall here last week, ShopRite.
Good.
And there was security at the gate, you know, scanning people to make sure you're not carrying any
bombs or explosive
or gun inside the mall. When I was in the mall, I felt safer.
Good.
Just last month, I was about to go into a superstore in the United States and Walmart's. And the door, you just go, is an electronic door. It opens and you just enter without any metal detection equipment. I couldn't help it, but, you know, just praying to my God that nothing of such shootings would happen, because no place is safe, no place is exempted in the US, you know, unless where you have personnel security or equipments to scan people before they enter. So to answer your question, you know, there are measures in place here, but in the US, mass shootings is so rampant now, and that is really unfortunate.
So you feel, in a simple term, the plain language, you feel unsafe in the United States, and you feel much safer in Nigeria?
It depends on where you are. If you go to any mass gathering, you can be a target anytime. It can happen anywhere now, right? At least the average of mass shootings in America is at least twice a day. So it could be in your state, even though the probability is, you know, very low. But when you're at home, really, you're safe. You don't have any problem. You're safe, and the chance for it of it happening to you is probably very low. But there's always that fear, you know, that would occur to your mind that anything bad could happen. You know.
What about schools now? When your children go to school, how do you feel like? Do you feel anxious until you see them back home?
To be honest, they're safer, even though we had the terrorist attack here in Nigeria too. The Dapchi attack was there, the Chibok attack, but it's not rampant. Just like school shootings are rampant in America. So you're right. When my kids go to school, I'm always unease until they come back home safely. And not all schools are secured, have armed security men and what have you. Some private schools do have that, but it's just unfortunate.
Okay. Before we end the show, a lot of people like me, like I'm sure my cameraman and editor, want to go to the United States of America. It's a dream country for most of young people now. What advice would you give to them, to us in general?
There are opportunities in America, but try to go there legally, the right way.
What do you mean by legally, the right way?
Because if you get a visitor's visa, you are there to visit, you are given a maximum of 6 months to stay without leaving, usually 3 months. You are given a 2 years multi-entry, and you are allowed to stay, for example, 3 or 6 months, and you have to leave the country. If you stay, you have to have a genuine reason to stay. That visa is not meant for you to get a job. Okay, so you go there get a migrant visa or a J1 when you find a job over there, or go as a student. The easiest way to go, I tell people, is to go there as a student. When you go there as a student while in the US, you can look for jobs. You can look for employments. Actually, there are some schools that would allow you to work while you're a student. So there are so many opportunities and you can explore. But if you go the illegal route, sometimes it could take you 10 years before coming back to your country. It could take you many years before getting a job. You could go through uncountable hardships and situations. Sometimes even if you are abused on the street, if somebody steals something from you, you cannot even call the police because you are scared that you will get deported. So many illegals are being abused every day, but they cannot even report because they're of their illegal status. So it is a greener pasture. You can get jobs, you can make it, but it's not as rosy as always sounds. There are homeless people. California is the homeless capital of the world. It's not everything you see in the movies that are true about America. There are people that cannot afford 3 square meals in a day.
In America?
Yes, in America.
The richest country on earth. The most influential, the superpower.
Begging for food on the street every day in the street of Washington, D.C. So please, if you're going, just try and go. There are so many ways we can get to America. Go there as a visitor. Visit and come back, and then plan on your next move. You have skills, you have certificates. Apply for jobs. America is looking to hire more people now, really. And you can look into different various job opportunities.
Your final words before we go.
Well, like I said, it's a pleasure, being with you once again, and words of encouragement, and thank you for having us. And sky is your limit. Just keep it up, and keep informing the world, informing Nigeria, informing the world. Global Arena, is the platform to follow, subscribe, and refer you and share, so that you have, as much viewers as you deserve.
Thank you very much indeed. And to make a little bit of a clarification, this one is Whiteblood Panorama, like on the channel of Whiteblood Multimedia, my boss's channel.
I see.
I see. She has given me a free channel to come and
subscribe on Whiteblood Panorama, everybody. That's what it is. Okay. And so we like Whiteblood Panorama, and also Umar, wherever he is, he's very intelligent. You should follow him. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for coming. Looking forward to hosting you anytime you are available again.
My pleasure.
On behalf of everyone that has contributed to this interestingly enthralling conversation, especially my cameraman, Mr. Gwani, and the big boss, Zainab Abdulrahman May Agogo, my name is Umar Isa, and I'm going to say goodbye and see you soon.